Hi. So nice
Oh,
to
it's so
see
nice
you.
to see you.
Yes.
Thank you
And
for taking the time on your Saturday morning to sketch with us.
what else would I be doing on a Saturday morning, hey?
It's such a treat to talk with you too, Liz. I've been just such a fan of your art for so long, and to yeah, I get to dive in, and I wish I'm being on opposite sides of the world. I wish we could sketch together, and these live events are such a fun opportunity to connect.
Yes, totally, totally. Thank you so much for inviting me. And hello to everyone. Wow, how many people already got? 92 people already. Wow. Hello, so nice. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been a huge fan of your work and also your art toolkit for many years. So it's just wonderful to get this chance to sketch together.
Well, I know I bought your book recently, and I, as an artist, I often have felt kind of intimidated. I'm a landscape artist, and so sometimes things with straight lines and angles can feel a little intimidating. And I've always really admired architects for the like precision and things look right. And I really love in your book how you go through breaking down architecture. And I wondered if you just might share a little bit of your journey of the architect turned full-time sketcher. And I'm curious, when you were practicing architecture or studying it, how much your art was part of your practice then in some of the manual draftsmanship.
Okay, cool. Well, okay, I'm try to give you the very short and
Yeah, the
condensed
short one.
version. So interestingly, as an architect, I've always drawn a lot. So for me, my entry point into art, in a way, is more design sketching. So like in order to come up with ideas, I'm doing lots and lots of rapid sketches. And then I would then try and present that to a client. And we used to always have the philosophy of giving freehand sketches initially so that the client feels that they can move things rather than do them on the computer, even though I probably had it on the computer, printed out and traced it over. So I've always had this real interest in drawing, but more from a tool point of view, and always love the idea of like the artists or the architects going on a grand tour, traveling the world and sketching. And I actually thought it was too hard. And I just thought, well, why sketch when you've got cameras? It's just hilarious. But I would do drawings when I come home. So I spent a lot of time studying architectural history and theory, which is pretty unusual, particularly in architecture these days in Australia. I'm really obsessed with the Baroque period and all kinds of things. And it's interesting because now when I look back, I think all of that design theory helped my sketching. Then I discovered
Tremendously. Uh-huh.
then I discovered watercolor. Well, I used to try and travel sketch and it would never happen. I discovered watercolor. When was that? Beginning of 2007. Can't remember now. And I just knew that instant, this is what I've been looking for all my life. And a great shout out to my friend Esther from Edinburgh, who was living in Australia for that year, who introduced me to watercolor. Can you believe it? So I've got no art training at all. And I just thought, this is so cool. I've got all these colors. And I don't know, I want to document my discovery. I don't want to create a masterpiece. And that's the essence of my art, is that, and particularly when it comes to drawing buildings, you have to explore it, because unless you spend half an hour analyzing before you start sketching it, you're going to come up with discoveries, because every building is slightly different. So that's I don't know, I'm going on all these different tangents. So yeah, in a way, that's in 2013 I decided to have a break for various reasons and just have 6 months of architecture just to sketch and teach a bit. And yeah, well, after a few weeks I realized, no, I'm not going back. And so that's the beginning of 2013. And I suppose my mission is to encourage people to have more fun sketching, not to take it too seriously. And so when it comes to buildings, I have a very strong, I always say I have tight thinking but loose lines.
Oh,
So
I love that. Ooh. Say that one more time.
I have tight thinking, but loose lines.
Oh, I
So
love
I
it.
spend a lot of time thinking, but then when I actually do the sketch, I just allow the sketch to come out however it is. And yeah, I've kind of always been inherently loose. And I used to beat myself up because my lines weren't perfect, because I thought architects should draw perfect drawings. But now I, you know, don't want to do that anymore anyway. And I want to be able to say more with less. So less lines, more paint. I don't know. Sorry.
No, I love it.
Morning, I'm rambling. I've got no idea.
Well, it's all anchored then in your understanding. You've got the fundamentals, and then once you've got that framework, you can play. And I love what you said about the sketching as the act of discovery. And I mean, one of my personal mantras is trust in process of, you know, the process of you've got your tools, open your sketchbook and dive in without the expectation of where it's going. But if you've got some of that framework of some of these fundamentals of design or understanding, then it's sort of anchored in that believable world of from which you can let the paint flow or let the art flow.
Yes, yes. And it's like when you sketch people or animals, the more that you know about the anatomy, the better your sketching will be, and the more you can take liberties, but know you've got that framework behind it. And so my approach to sketching buildings is I want to help you see buildings differently, to understand them in a systematic way, and then however you choose to sketch them is up to you. But this is the process of seeing them and understanding what you're looking at. And that's what you say, the process as well. And it's like it's discovery. I mean, I make a million mistakes every time I sketch a new building, because I'm going, oh, I mean, yesterday I was sketching something and go, oh, it's asymmetrical. Oh, why is this like this? Oh, why is that? And that's part of the fun, is that I realize that something that you thought was very boring and very systematic has all of these quirks in it. And that's kind of, I get a kick out of like going, oh, wow, look at that, because someone designed it. And so as an architect, I'm particularly interested in connecting with the thought process of the person who put it together.
I love that. I probably forget that sometimes. You know, buildings are art, and in examining it, you're kind of getting a chance to go into someone else's head of understanding maybe rhythms or the spaces they were looking for. And what a nice reminder.
So yesterday I was looking, I did one bay of these, like, there's these two shops. They look like they're the same building, that one end has been coloured. But as I was sketching, I'm going, oh, hold on, there's a lot of differences between this one bay and the other building. And I'm going, oh, I think maybe it was built later. And so they tried to make it match, but it didn't quite match. And so I then start thinking about the history about these things. So, you know, my mind goes in all these tangents, and I go, oh, okay, well, someone put an air conditioning unit there and they did a really bad job. And like, it's like, so it is discovery, and there's a lot of story inside of buildings. It's a different kind of story as when you've got people talking, but it's this documentary of what's happened in the past and how people have used the space that I think is really interesting. Well, interesting for me.
Well, you're answering your question earlier too of, you know, maybe why sketch versus take a photo. Is sketching really invites you into this deeper observation and attention, and that act of attention just gets to open your eyes up to all these questions, inquiry, and the stories. And for me, I mean, that's sort of the joy of sketching, is that whole process. And, well, I love with your book though that there's this emphasis on fast, and I love fast sketching too, because I've spent a lot of time in places that are very, I mean, they're a little uncomfortable sometimes, let's be honest, right? They're very cold.
I'm amazed at where you go.
Things outside are like changing really quickly. So, you know, if it's windy or the sun, so being able to sketch quickly. And so I love in your book, you've got this idea of approaching architecture really quickly. And I know one thing we talked about that maybe we could dive into is we could check out your supplies you've got. And you sent me this picture, which I hold out a printout of this really cool building, and kind of saying, Maria, you know, what if we did a crazy like 5-minute sketch? And I have this really beautiful little timer, Liz. See this timer? And it's cool because it's got this nice red, and I can set it to beep. And so I thought I could, you know, we could set the timer up to when you get going and see what you can do in your 5 minutes of helping. I mean, this is a complicated building. This isn't like, you know, your little office building on the street.
No, 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 no. And in fact, I've actually sketched that building. I've got pictures to show you. I've sketched that building twice standing up. The last time I sketched it on location was actually 10:30 at night after being on a long haul flight for 24 hours. And I probably didn't sketch it in 5 minutes, but I think this will be fun. Because obviously when I was asked to write this book, 5 Minute Sketching Architecture, as part of the 5 Minute series, I went, oh, come on. You know, you can't sketch a building in 5 minutes. Well, you can, but so let's see if I really can apply these principles. And look, I have to say there's no, I just have to say at the start that there's no like kind of like gold star if you sketch quickly. Like it's not that the speed is but the speed is not like, you know, it's not that I'm better because I can sketch quicker, but it's a really good tool to have in your kit. Because it means that times when you would like to do a sketch but you don't know how to, you've got a strategy for it, and you're actually using your sketchbook more often. So I don't promote fast sketching just because I think that's the only way. I think when you learn, you have to slow down. You really have to slow down. But it's good to mix it up. So I just have to say that, because some people think that all I ever promote is fast sketching, and it's like, well, I have a fast natural pace. I have to learn to live with it. But you know,
no, it's like
I'm not
flexing a muscle, and then you get your vocabulary, like practicing gestures, what you can do in a minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, and you can kind of calibrate your approach. And and I love that you're going to give us all a little peek at I'll reset. This is my time timer, is what it's called.
I have one of those, but mine's much bigger. Where's mine?
I should get a bigger one too.
I love the time timer. It's something I got at the beginning of lockdown, and it's a big part of my motivation actually. Set it for an hour and it keeps you going. Okay.
Well, should we go ahead and swap to our
yes.
our
okay. Let's see how this. Okay. So just excuse the bright light for. Oh, how do I do this? How do I let's do this first. Okay. There we go.
See here.
There's my bright lights.
I'll get my light. Here we go.
Okay. So I wasn't sure.
And I'll pull up the photo and the time timer so we can.
Okay. So. Oh, good, because I've got my, you can put the photo there. Can you, okay. Oh, gotta compose myself for this. Okay.
Okay, and here's I can zoom out just a little bit more so we can, I'll get my timer and the image so people can see what you're looking at.
Okay.
Okay. And just a comment, I see a couple questions, and for the comments, you can usually tap the top of your screen to have the comments drop, or if you watch this on a desktop, like a computer or a laptop, the comments come onto the side. And I'll post a recording of this to our YouTube with the comments on the side as well. So Liz, you let me know when you're ready. And
okay. So what am I going to get out? I'm just making sure you can see me on the screen. I think before I start this, I'll just quickly explain what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be sharing my idea of working structurally. And let me just, and so what I'm going to be doing, we'll talk about this afterwards, but just so you can follow what I'm doing, I'm going to try and look for the structure, which in this case is the main columns and these curly things. And by the way, this is a building by my favorite architect, one of my favorite architects, Borromini. It's a Baroque facade in Rome. Okay, so, okay.
Roll your shoulders, take a deep breath.
Okay, here we go. And I've got my tools, but this is it. This is the number one thing when you're going to sketch quickly, is that you have your tools handy. Okay, everyone ready?
That looks like, is that a Fude, the Sailor Fude pen?
This is a Fude pen, which hopefully is working okay. Yep.
I've just started playing with that. Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Ready? Okay, I've got my little beeper on, and
okay.
5 minutes. Here we go.
Okay, so I never clean my palette so that I have time. I can just go back into stuff. Okay, here we go. I could spend 5 minutes Mixing color. I'm not gonna be able to finish my sentences. Okay, so the first thing I've got to do is make sure I don't work too large, because that's going to slow me down. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's all right. And 1, 2.
Yeah.
So what we have is a grid of, there we go.
So you've got these different angles, some of that primary structure.
Okay, so right now, if I had to go now, I've almost got the essence of the building done already. Okay. What am I doing?
Yeah, in less than a minute, you've got the fundamental facade sort of bones.
Yep. Okay. And so, look, sometimes I can do things. What am I doing? Just with paint. But normally, if I'm working really quickly, I prefer to just go into ink, because I then don't have to worry about waiting time so much. But I'm just going to put a little bit more in here. In here.
I shouldn't distract you too much, but do you ever do ink afterwards, or usually just before?
This is actually my normal practice, which is to start with some paint, some shape, and then to go to ink for a bit, and then to come back to paint. I don't like drawing over I don't necessarily like drawing over the top of like something that's fully painted. Oh, my food is not super happy this morning. Okay, so okay, so the number one principle is like get the structure done first, and you'll notice that I will probably can you see that on the screen? Am I okay?
Yeah, you're looking great. Yeah,
you'll notice
you've got like 4 minutes left.
Okay. Let's see if I can get it done less than 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. You've got a great eye for all those angles.
Yeah, well,
that's the sort of thing I might stop and measure.
Yeah. So no measuring for this. It doesn't matter. I'm not happy with this pen. Hold on. Let's just do a quick pen change.
Okay.
In between. Okay. So I'm now going to grey Diatramentus ink, Urban Grey. Okay, that's flowing better. Okay, so you've got to make sure that your pen can let you work quickly. Okay, so I've got the main structure in, basically, even though I was kind of, okay, so now I'm coming for the secondary structure, which this building is just incredible. It just, again, now I've actually been really, really good, really disciplined. Sometimes I get distracted starting to do some of these like little details, and I have to pull myself back. So it does happen, but I just constantly, as soon as I start getting into the mode where I'm like starting to draw all the fun bits.
Yeah, and like I don't know if everyone can see too well in that image, but there's like some statues in some of these, and I can see that you've focused on all the big shapes first, and you're not getting too hung up on all the little details, just the general shapes and gesture of them. Yeah, oh yeah, like 2 more minutes, Liz. Oh, you're rocking.
Okay. Oh, maybe we rename the book for 4 minute sketching. No, don't get ahead of myself. I might just, because the thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but like I started slow. I spent like a whole 10 seconds mixing paint.
Yeah, and now you've got about 2
minutes.
That's
the thing. Okay, so
yeah,
because mixing paint actually takes a lot of time. So this is pretty crazy. So I actually have a 7-step system for what I call working structure. Okay, that's all my lines. Look, now let's just go back and put some. I'm going to make the door green. I'm not actually sure what color. It's a bit of a wet day, but anyway. But often these doors are green in Rome, so that's there. And look, I could actually now come, because I've got extra time, and come and put a bit more context in the other side of the building if I want to. Okay, but
yeah, you've got like a full minute left.
Okay.
Oh, I love
maybe
it.
Not. Okay, a bit of turquoise in this window, just for fun.
That's one of my favorite colors.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so I'm just going to go for a bit more blue, a bit more color. So I'm just going to come through and pick out, like this overcast day. So I'm just going to pick out the underside, and then I might make a creative decision to put maybe the left side.
Creative license.
Yeah.
That shadow really adds those dimensions.
Yes. Okay, so, oh, okay, getting bored now.
Yeah, I think you've got about 30
I
seconds left. We'll see if
think,
my
okay.
beep goes off, but
Okay, and so then if you've got more time, you can come and go, okay, well, Liz, you really made a mess of that. So we can come and add, like, maybe then if the building doesn't feel richly decorated enough, you can come back and go to town with the details. Okay, there we
oh,
go.
there we
Done.
go.
Whoa.
Well done, Liz. So do you want to, I saw a couple questions in there, and I know you worked so quickly on focusing on your sketching and that it's hard to sketch and talk at the same time. Do you want to share a little bit of some of your materials and maybe some of those mixes? I saw you started with a little bit more of a neutral and then some of your, those nice shadow tones and such.
Yes. Okay. So, well, we were talking about, you said the Fude pen by Sailor. A lot of you probably are aware of it, but what I get the one that works. Hold on. What I like about it is that when I'm working quickly, it gives me very expressive lines. Plus, I can kind of color in really quickly if I need like a window or something. So that was the pen I used.
What's the ink you use in that, Liz?
This one is Diatramentus Document Urban Grey, and the one that is not flowing well is Document Black.
I'll have to try those. I just picked up some of these to play with after Paul Wang uses them as well, and they're really cool. I'm not very experienced with them yet.
Yes. So I actually, because of the way I draw lines, I really love the expressiveness of them. Excuse me. I especially love that, I'm doing this a little bit overstated, but there's a bead of ink that comes at the end of the line when you draw it, and that darkness at the end of the line is what makes it really gives a lot of energy to your sketches, which is great when I'm doing architecture and doing straight lines. So my brush is the only brush basically I use, which is the Rosemary. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, the Rosemary 772 half-inch sable blend dagger brush. And it just works so well for me because I can draw with it. I rotate it quite a lot. I draw with it using the tip.
Yeah.
I'll move it up a little bit using the tip, but then I can also swipe with the side of it. And yeah, it just feels right in my hand. And that's one of the things. You've got the little one there.
Yeah, and this is the larger travel one I've been playing with, the R16, and seems like I agree with you. The dagger is so versatile, and with architecture especially, I could see, I really love that you can like stamp marks with them or get like a broad stroke or those little calligraphic.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I really love working with flats and one strokes and stuff like that. So this is good because it gives me kind of straight edges. Sorry, it's hard to see with the comments. It gives me straight edges when I do the swipes. Okay, so, and you're asking about mixes. So let me move this back again. Sorry, I've got to slow down after the 5-minute flurry.
Yeah, you could have a moment to take a cup of tea.
No caffeine. I do weekly live streams for my online courses at the moment, and it's just a joke because I try to slow down and then I get excited and I talk really fast. But doing a 5-minute sketch on live Instagram is even worse. Hey, okay, so when I started, I said I didn't clean my palette because I already had color there, and I am very strategic about how I use my palette, my pans, and basically I'm at the moment, and particularly if I'm doing anything in Italy, I just love using like these 3 colors, which is a French ultramarine. This particular one is a Schminker one. And transparent red oxide, which is equivalent of a burnt sienna. So that will give me a nice grey.
Yeah.
And will separate and granulate amazingly. And then I come in and I put a bit of raw sienna-like colour. My particular one is Monte Amiata Natural Sienna, which is a mouthful. And that then gives me a range of different like neutrals, which I then just adjust this one puddle and a lot of water. And I'm also, let me move this across. I'm also dabbing my brush quite a lot. So I like to have a lot of water in my palette. Oops, too much paint. But then transparent red oxide is going crazy. Okay, I put a lot of pigment, a lot of water, and then if I'm working quickly, I will dab it a bit just so that there's not as much water on the page. But there'll be some beautiful separation coming from these three colors.
Yeah.
And basically that's apart from the green. So I added a bit of green. I don't know what I did, probably the sap green and the French ultramarine. And then I added a bit of my favorite color, which is the cobalt turquoise light from Winsor & Newton.
Yeah, I use a similar cobalt teal blue from Daniel Smith. I love that bright, bright blue. It's such a fun touch and mixes for these neat little highlights. And I love that range of neutrals you mix too. I feel like with watercolor, discovering the subtleties of neutrals, browns and grays, where you get the little interchange of like a warm and a cool within one area of paint. And it's so beautiful.
Yes, and if you can get a combination of different types of pigments as well, then you get this beautiful separation and granulation. So it's not just about this single color, it's about how you use them. And I had this term called pigment party, which is like you've got to have the right mix of people, and you've got to make sure that there's plenty of like drinks or beverages of some kind. So plenty of water to let the pigments kind of play and interact with each other and have fun. So that's, and yeah, basically it doesn't matter. Like I just use these three colors and whatever. Often I put it down, I think, oh, that was a bit of a murky mix. But if I just let it settle, then the separation will happen.
Yeah, and I love that, watercolor too, there's the little surprise of how it's going to separate and then how it's going to dry, and getting a handle on what your paints will look like dried versus when you put them on wet comes with just the more you play.
Yes. Yes. And look, I don't know, this is going to go crazy, but see, look, those swipes earlier with the dagger brush, how it's giving you all those interesting beads and texture. That's something that, I love.
Oh, I love it too. Yeah. Well, Liz, you also sent me a really beautiful image that I posted in our Instagram, the Art Toolkit bio in our link tree of this really gorgeous building. So if anyone, if you haven't downloaded this and you want to go, I'll have it up for the next few days. If you'd like to have it on your computer or print it out. And Liz, we thought we might do a little paint through together where maybe we'll take a little more than 5 minutes. I'd love to try and follow along. And we hear a little bit more about a process we can all kind of tackle. And I don't know if we'll do the whole building. I'll follow your lead here. And it's a beautiful building.
Yeah, so this is another one of my favorite architects. So this is a villa by Palladio. So for the last 4 years, I've gone to Italy to teach workshops, week-long workshops based around Palladio and his work. And he's a fantastic example of an architect who used the classical tradition. So the way he used the classical elements is just sublime. And just so I know, we probably have a lot of Americans. He wrote a book, and that book traveled the world, influenced architects all over the world, including Jefferson. And Palladio was actually pronounced the father of American architecture by a congress sometime. I don't know when it is. But anyway, so studying Palladio is a great way of understanding classical buildings. And you'll notice it looks like some big, important, lots of buildings probably in a lot of your countries are like that. And when it comes to classical architecture, I'm just going to find my other pen. So the other pen that I like using is just a Lamy pen, and I have a kind of a broad medium nib. I don't know what it is. It's a gold nib, so it's thick. But anyway, so it'd be good for this. So when it comes to drawing classical architecture, it's based on this is like a history of classical architecture in like 30 seconds. It's based on the Greek and Roman. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble here.
Okay. Should I follow along now, or are we?
No, not yet. This is just
okay.
So it's based on the Greek temple idea of having a triangle roof called a pediment, having this band across here, which is called the entablature, and having a row of columns. And a lot of Western architecture is based on modifying these elements. So the secret when you have a building in the classical tradition to sketch is to look for those elements, to look for the horizontal bands and to look for the columns. And that's the crazy sketch in Rome that I just did, this one here. It didn't have the pediment and it had this curve thing, but it still has the same element of this horizontal band. Hold on, let me see. I just went dark for a minute. I'm just making sure I'm still with you.
Yeah.
So it's horizontal band and these columns. Okay, so even if it's really complicated, if you look for that, that then sets it out. And those columns are actually called the orders of architecture because they order the building. And once you get that done, once you get that down, then you can just make up with you just fit the windows in however they are. So
the order, that's like our fundamental structure, like the bones, the big bones.
Okay, so we can see, can we see the triangle, the horizontal band, and then the 4 columns? Okay, so it's fairly easy to see. And we are not looking straight on the building. We're slightly oblique, so we have to just do like a 30-second explanation of perspective here. I have a very practical way of using perspective, which I call pointless perspective, which is basically to try and just find where the eye line is, which is where the horizontal bit, which I think in this is somewhere along here. To look at the bottom lines, and so you can see on this photo that that bottom line is going up a little bit, and then to look at the top line, the top edge, and to see that that's going down.
Yeah.
Okay, so all we need to do is draw the top line, the horizontal, and the bottom line, and then just make sure that our lines kind of are a nice fan, and then we can go from there. So, okay.
Oh, that's brilliant, Liz. Pointless perspective. That's I love it. Find the top, bottom, and your middle horizontal.
Yep, and I've got explanations on my blog too. But look, for a lot of these, I'll post to my feed with a whole lot of links, and also to lizstill.com as well afterwards. So if you've got any questions about materials or more details, you'll be able to. We'll be able to sort those out because I can see some questions coming in.
I'll post some links in our comments of description of our YouTube as well. So we'll link them from here.
Great. Okay, so now I'm going to start. I'm going to think about. I'm not going to do any measuring for this because we're, we've got limited time. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this here. I'm going to think about that top edge, and I'm just going to draw this box. Okay, I'm defacing my photo, but that's all right. I'm going to draw this box, and now I remember that this was a horizontal line down the base, and then the bottom steps are going up slightly. Okay.
Do you have any tips for people on drawing straight lines that you've found over the years?
If I need to do a straight line, I like using the side of the book. So I run my hand along the side of the book and make sure I don't get a paper cut, and then adjust. So I can draw lines. Yeah, that was slightly, my books, I haven't, it's better if the book is up in the air. If I come down here, that's better. I can draw it like that.
Yeah.
Also, you try and draw with your shoulder,
Yeah.
rather than your wrist movement. And also, there's no reason why you can't draw a series of smaller lines as well. Okay. So I'm just going to beef these lines up a little bit just so that you can see them clearly. Okay. I wouldn't normally draw them this dark. Okay. So that's perspective done. All we just need to do is, if we're going to draw any more lines, they have to go from this angle down to flat, and then we're fine. Okay. Now, okay, so we're now going to have a look at the structure. So I'm going to draw a line. I don't care about proportions today. So I'm going to draw a line for that horizontal band, and then we're going to divide it into 3. See, I wasn't happy for the first one, so I'm going to make this slightly, slightly oblique. So this one is slightly bigger than the other ones. Okay.
Yep.
And that's the hard work done.
There's your tight thinking right there.
Okay, so this is the stage where you have to take your time for this point. And if you're just doing a little bit of light pencil work, you've only done, how many lines have we done? We've done less than 10 lines on the page. So if this is not right now, we could change it really quickly. Of course, I can't change it because I've done it really heavily, but now I just need to put now this triangle on the top. Okay.
Okay, so we've got now coming up, and we've got that center point. And do you often do some pencil first, or usually pen and paint?
I don't often do anything. When I teach, I use pencil, but I used to in the early days, but now I'm much more confident. And I often do it actually with paint, just like I did in the 5-minute demo. Let me just have a look. Here's actually a sketch I did on location. So of this building. And yeah, I can actually see that there's some, I would have started with a little bit of paint to map it out first. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, now the last lot of pencil lines that we need, I'm just going to come and I'm just going to think, okay, let's come and just see if I can fit these windows in. I don't need to draw them in pencil, I just need to make sure that they'll fit in.
I love how you break it down into these elements, working from the bigger elements to the smaller.
Absolutely key when you sketch buildings, because a lot of people probably get lost in the details, and this is the way of preventing you from doing that, because you're seeing big shapes, then structure, then windows, then details. And then if we then want to just think about, I don't really want to do this in pencil, but I will. Okay, so we then think about the side building. We can then just come and we can look at the relationships of where it's coming. And then we divide it into 3 bays again. And you're wondering why I'm ignoring the sculptures at the front, but I just am, because I'm trying to get the building right behind it. And then I'm looking across at how this relates across to there.
Oh, you make it look easy. But I think just relying on I'm just looking at like my initial straight line and keeping my eyes on that big structure, the big preliminary structure.
Yes.
Not
and you're going straight in pen as well. So, but you've got a fine pen, haven't you? Is that a fine?
It's a carbon ink.
Yes.
Kind of a scratchy pen I really enjoy sketching with.
Yes. So you can easily just come and put a bit more line, put some more lines on top of what you've just done.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm absolutely itching to go to pen now. but before that, I'm just going to quickly map out where that sculpture is going so I don't ignore him. And the other one is over here, just so I know that it's there. Okay, so now I'm just like, wow, the hour is going really quickly. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to draw this part first. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate on drawing the what happens here? Actually, I've scribbled all over my photo. I can't see. No, I actually know this. I know this building really well. I've sketched it many times. Okay, so I'm going to draw that horizontal band, and in my book, I explain how that horizontal band actually has a number. You try and simplify it into a few different components. So I always draw those components. I'm not going to worry about these little steppy things. See how there's little steppy things coming down? I'll worry about that later.
Yeah,
they're called medallions.
Closer.
Yeah, and then the actual column, it's hard for you to see, but the actual column then, the column top is like this scrolly thing.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
And what you find is it's basically 5 different column types in classical architecture. And once you actually know that, it's really easy. You see, oh, it's an ionic. I don't know what you saw, but I basically drew the triangle bit, the horizontal band, and the columns. And now I'm coming in and drawing the windows. And then I can start drawing the details, but we probably want to draw some of the rest of the building. So when it comes to doing arches, what I do, you can still see this, is I draw, once again, I draw the bay, like the center line of the pillars, and then I'll draw a guideline at the base, so that when I come and draw an arch, I draw the pillars, and then I draw the arch as a separate line. I could do it more precisely, but if you do that as a minimum, then it's going to look a lot better than just drawing these kind of loopy-loop things, which a lot of people do. So you can see how I've just drawn a pencil line across there, and then that helps me go across.
Oh, just for those. That's a great little tip.
Yeah, I have like so many tips for drawing different building elements. Okay.
And there's a whole book of them right here, and you've got some workshops too. Am I right?
Yeah. So I have an online course. Well, I have quite a number of online courses, but I have one called Buildings, which takes probably about 5 pages of the book and expands them, and well, a bit more than that, but it really expands some of the core concepts. All of this stuff we're doing here, I explain it much more systematically. And then I've got to start thinking about these foreground elements.
And look, I accidentally, I didn't measure very well drawing out my building. So I've got 3 arches, space for 4 arches.
Okay, I'll tell you a secret and don't tell anyone else. I think I can't exactly remember what I've done here, but I made a mistake and I put the wrong. I'm pretty sure this sketch, one of the sketches I did of this building, I had the wrong number, and I was sitting there too. So it happens.
I'm just going to make it a little bigger on the end here and fudge it and add in.
Or just add another one in. Yeah, look, it's fine. There is actually 4 there. I mean, I'm sure Palladio won't mind. He's had to put up with my crazy sketches of his work for the last number of years. So, okay, so here we go.
Practice, not perfection. Here, yep.
Exactly. You'll know next time to count the bays before committing.
Oh, and you're even getting the stairs nicely angled, following your pointless perspective. I'm going to remember that one, Liz.
Yes. So it's not the perspective is pointless. It's just the fact that you don't need the vanishing points. Okay.
I got you there. anything but pointless.
Okay. Now the one really tricky thing about this particular view, which I've completely ignored, and some of you were wondering, is like we can actually see and I've just scribbled over my photo. It's hard to see. We actually can see just a little bit, sorry, not on the screen, can see just a little bit of the side of the building there. And like people go, how do I draw it? So the thing is, I'm going to draw even more, is like just think very carefully about what angle that is going at, and then also how foreshortened it is. Okay, so you can see how I just drew, I don't know if you can see that, I just drew some lines. And so that means that this angle, everything's there before us. Okay, we've just got to take our time, you know, maybe think about a clock face. So I like thinking, if I was to put the clock, what time is it? It's nearly 11 o'clock. And then the side of the building is actually really skinny. So our mental, a lot of people would draw this building like, oh, I'm on the page. They would draw this building like this, right?
Yeah, that's not sitting though.
That's as if, you know, the side is really big. We can see the roof. We can see these steps. It's not like that at all. This is actually going the opposite direction. And this is really narrow. So to make your buildings look real and deep, just be careful of that side of the building, and then I can come through.
That's fabulous. Yep.
And notice I haven't drawn a single detail.
Yeah, but it's already kind of climbing off the page there.
So this is the thing. Okay, I know. Look, a lot of people say, oh, Liz, you don't like drawing details. No, I love drawing details. Just leave them to the end so that you can have more fun. Get the hard stuff done. So take your time, get that. Now, the fun thing now is that I can now go to town. I can have, like, I've taken all the pressure off. I've done all the hard bit first. And now I can just go, yay, I can just draw now. I can draw all of this, you know, detail through here. I'm now in the mood. I'm now in the mood to do these little medallions carefully, because I'm not worrying about the accuracy.
There's all these great details on top.
Yes, and so forth. And then I just come and draw, you know, thicknesses and depths. That's another thing that's in the book and in the course, which is just make sure that you come and you add, if you can, as many details and extra lines as you can.
Yeah, now you don't need to worry about that big picture and how things fit together. You get to fill in each of your little kind of quadrants and spaces.
Yes, and that's looking fantastic, Maria. Look at that.
You've been giving us a nice step-by-step walkthrough there, Liz. Thank you. So this is a beautiful building, and I just have to ask, with you as an architect, do you have a favorite piece of architecture out there in the world, or is that possible?
Well,
or one you've sketched.
Okay, so I just want to show you, this is the sketch of the first building, San Carlo by Borromini, that I sketched in 2010, so 10 years ago. And the words on the side is, I would love to do a more accurate sketch of this building, my favorite in Rome, and then in brackets, all-time favorite. So yeah, if someone said, what's your favorite building, I would probably choose this building. It's some really interesting inside too. I have no idea what's here, but that's probably my favorite, and that's why I was going to show this to you as well. This was the 10:30 p.m. sketch done on location last year in Rome. So that's why I kind of had to stop. I was actually with Mike Botton, who's the tour director for Palladian Odyssey, the tours that I teach there, and I had to say, Mike, we've got to stop and draw this. I can't walk past my favorite building without sketching it. Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So that's looking fantastic. It's just now a matter of coming in and filling in some of those details, putting some darks in the windows, and that kind of stuff.
Well, Liz, we have just a couple more minutes, few more minutes. And I want to ask if there's, anything else on your end we can share and let people know that's coming up for projects for you. And I think one thing I've really enjoyed following during this COVID period from you is seeing you did like virtual travels, going out and sketching virtually. And really, I enjoyed that experience of seeing you approach those subjects that, near and far across the world and finding inspiration. And are there some other projects or events or workshops coming up we can know about?
Yes, well, the virtual trip was 11 weeks of basically more or less following my itinerary that was planned for this year. So for me, it was a great way of feeling like I'd been to those places and to sketch all of these complex buildings and stuff in Italy. In terms of projects, I've been doing a lot of teaching in my Sketching Now courses this year, and currently working through one with a group of people at the moment, and then I'm going to have a break. So I'm actually going to see if I can have a vacation, and then start working on new projects. So I've got nothing particular to tell at the moment, but so I've been really committed to getting out and sketching locally. That's actually not quite so local, and while I can go out and sketch the buildings in my local area. Well, that's got nothing to do with the building, some more buildings. This is the shop that I did yesterday. So that's my big project at the moment, is really just committed to getting out sketching locally at the moment, and just every day going out and finding a spot to sketch, and just sitting down and waiting for inspiration to hit. And I've drawn these buildings multiple times, but for some reason it's really, I'm finding it more and more inspiring the more I do it. So because I've got to push myself. So that's my main project at the moment, is just to make sure that I keep up my daily sketching.
Oh, I love it. And I love on every page, you often have your teacups and revisiting subjects, but playing with them and letting it be a unique experience each time. It's really inspiring. I want to encourage everyone, if you haven't signed up for Liz's mailing list or her blog, I get in my email, I think a couple times a week, updates from all your sketches, and I'm really inspired by your journey, Liz, and whether they're local or international, lizsteele.com. And Liz, I just really want to thank you for coming along and joining me for sketching. And I just love your projects, and everyone who's interested in more of Liz's materials. Liz, you take such wonderful deep dives on your blog into the ins and outs of all your materials, just wonderful resources. And just thank you for everything you share with all of us.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been so much fun, Maria. I make sure I'm still on. Yeah, okay. I'm just like, oh, something froze. Just two links. So yeah, this is my blog, lizsteele.com, which has all this material stuff, lots and lots of tips and tricks. And then also my Sketching Now courses. I actually have a lot of free lessons, which are intros to my courses. So there's one on buildings as well, all the stuff that we've been talking about today. So that's sketchingnow.com/free lessons. Yeah, look, I just want to encourage everyone to keep sketching, and thank you so much, Maria. This has just been so much fun to be part of this live demo and to connect with you, because as I said, I'm just so inspired by your extreme sketching. It's like we're both into extreme sketching, but different types.
Oh, well, Liz, I love feeling part of this great big community of artists and creatives. And thank you again, all of you who joined us.